I was thinking of it as a expressed compliment and thank you, because what we're doing keeps all my tools sharp.
Sure.
If we weren't doing this, I would start getting dull, in my opinion.
Sure.
I remember the story of a famous concert pianist that was asked by a reporter, do you practice? Knowing the answer is, of course, yes. How long do you practice? Practice 8 hours a day, playing the piano. Practicing. So do you ever skip? You ever skip a day? Or do you ever skip practice? He said, yeah. If I skip one day, I can tell. If I skip 2 days, my best supporters can tell. If I skip 3 days, my audience can tell.
Wow. Yeah. I bet. Wow. Yep.
Even if that's just generally true, you slide. You got to keep in practice. Not that this is practice, but
Sure.
it's function.
Your technique.
And if you,
Repeat.
I just have that sense and appreciation for what you give up, what this is costing you, and time and effort, and you've spent a lot more money than I have for this. It's paying off.
It is.
We had good meetings yesterday at church.
Good.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
All right. We want to talk about the question, do Christians experience loneliness? Do Christians experience loneliness? People were made and designed to live and interact with other people. If you have ever contacted a hermit, an old curmudgeon that withdraws from society and the contact with other people, those people just get weird. They get strange. And I think each of us would, if we retract from social interaction that helps us stay as balanced as we can. However, sometimes we do experience what is called loneliness. It's not controlled, and it's not definitely a reflection of whether we're around people or not. Because loneliness is really a state of mind and a condition of spirit. We could be in a crowded room with a lot of people, different interests and different activities, and be lonesome. Or we could be quite all alone and be at peace. So it's internalized. It's something that happens within us. So it may sound like a dumb question at first. Who experiences loneliness? Who? Well, top of the list maybe. How about orphans? We think of orphans sometimes as very young children, but sometimes they're not so young. My wife was an orphan at a young age. And I'm sure there was a time of loneliness. We think of people who are widows and widowers. I've experienced the loss of a spouse through death. I've been a widower. I understand what loneliness can be. There are sick people that are physically alone much of the time. There are people that are disabled. There are people, we used to call them handicapped. No offense meant if you have a better word. Not trying to be unkind, but people that have mobility issues, they can be lonely because somebody is not right there with them. There are people that are separated in their marriage situation, estranged from a spouse, even divorced. Some of the statistics that we read are really disturbing in the American society, including the church. We are at about 50% rate of failed marriages for all kinds of reasons. We're not trying to point any fingers or cast any judgment. It's just something that we experience increasingly more and more. Singles sometimes get lonely. And maybe if they marry for the wrong reason, they'll still be lonely when they're married. That happens as well. And so children are lonely at times. Young adults are lonely at times. Adults and seniors are lonely. It looks like that each one of us is really subject to loneliness. Or could be. Could be. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to be real. You see, literally no one is exempt. Just because you're a Christian, just because you have a word in your mouth, even Christians have to deal with the reality of loneliness. Now here's a wish. If I believed a fairy tale, I could just tell you that because you're a Christian, you don't experience loneliness and the class is over. You can just go home. But I know better than that. I know the reality denies the fairy tale. And what you wish were the case often is not. I want to read to you about one of the great prophets of all time. Certainly you know him from the Old Testament, the man by name of Elijah. What a man. Tremendous ministry. Powerful word from the Lord through him to not just Israel, but to many other nations as well. The miracles that happened in his ministry are quite amazing. And we'll come back to reference that in a few minutes. But I want to read an account from 1 Kings chapter 19. And it says this. And Ahab, who was the king of Israel at the time, told Jezebel, his lovely wife, that all Elijah had done, and how he had slain the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger unto Elijah, saying, So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I make not your life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time. She said, I'm going to kill you. 24 hours. And when he saw that, he arose and went for his life and came to Beersheba, which belonged to Judah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down on under a juniper tree, and he requested for himself that he might die, and said, It is enough. Now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers. And as he lay and slept under a juniper tree, behold, then an angel touched him, and said unto him, Arise and eat. And he looked, and behold, there was a cake baked on the coals, and a cruse of water at his head. And he did eat and drink, and laid down again. And the angel of the Lord came again the second time, and touched him, and said, Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you. And he arose and did eat and drink, and went in the strength of that meat 40 days and 40 nights unto Horeb, the mount of God. And he came into a cave and lodged there. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him. And he said unto him, "What are you doing here, Elijah? What are you doing here? What are you doing here?" And then he called his name. Well, Elijah said, "I've been very zealous for the Lord God of hosts. For the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left. I'm the last one. They've killed us all. And they seek my life to take it away. There's not going to be any of us left, Lord. It's over. The glorious days of the prophets of Israel are no more." The dramatic report on the prophet Elijah. As we read 1 Kings chapters 18 and then chapter 19, we see what looks like two completely different men. Traditionally, the Eastern Church has assigned July 20th for the date when Elijah challenged and mocked the prophets of Baal, 400 of them, or was there 450? 400, and set up a challenge. And whichever God responds by fire for the sacrifice, that's who we're going to serve. And so the 400 prophets cut themselves, shouted, danced around. Elijah mocked them. He said, well, maybe your God is relieving himself. Maybe he's gone off to the men's room. Shout louder. Maybe he's taking a nap. You better be louder to get his attention and wake him up. And of course, Baal, or they call him Baal, did not answer. Elijah took over the challenge on his end. He put the slain animal on the altar. He fired up the wood, put the wood under it, He poured barrels of oil. No, it was water. Just seeing if you're listening. Barrels of water on the sacrifice, where it ran down off the altar into the trench that he had dug around the altar and filled up the trench. And prayed a very simple prayer, very few words. And the Spirit of God responded with fire, which burnt up the sacrifice, burnt up the wood, burnt up the stone altar, and all of the water around. Wow. So the deal was, whichever God responds with fire is the one we're going to serve. And Jehovah God showed himself strong, superior, omnipotent, and in charge of the situation. I don't think he had to chase these 400 prophets down. They are so embarrassed. They are so humiliated. They are so discredited. They don't have a life or ministry left. They have no credibility to go back to town and go, well, I guess we lost that one. Their life is literally over. He has ended their career by showing them up as false. And he took the 400, picture this, 400 men in one group, one man on the other side, and the one man takes the 400 down to the creek and kills them at the creek. They could have run off in 400 different directions. I don't know that he could have ever caught them. I think they were so humiliated they submitted their life to the answer. My career is over. I can't go back to Jezebel. She's going to kill me if I show up back over there. And so, wow, this is huge. Now, July 20th has been selected, and there's some historical thread to the logic involved, but some of the Eastern Catholics and some of the Arab Christians gather on Mount Carmel on July 20th every year and have a celebration. I think they celebrate the wrong thing, but they celebrate on July 20th, which is the anniversary of this event. As God would have it, as His hand of guidance and blessing upon my life has been manifested in so many ways, I have been on Mount Carmel on July 20th.
Wow. Of course you
Of course I have.
Right.
Of course he has. And seen the picnics, the family celebration, the rejoicing. I thought they were rejoicing in the victory of Elijah. Turns out they're not. There's another thing going on. There was a vision of the Virgin Mary that happened, and that's why they were there. But I didn't know that at the time. But nevertheless, I've been there on July 20th. And I celebrated Elijah. I didn't care what the others were doing at the time. And it was a great day to be there, to be on that mountain, and to celebrate what could be the biggest victory of the prophet Elijah's life. It's certainly the most dramatic. I mean, it's hard to measure miracles one against the other and to say, well, this one is smaller and this one's medium and this is a real big one. But certainly the drama of the 400 false prophets of Baal, the confrontation, his mocking them, his making fun of Baal and the lack of response, and then, of course, the slaughter that happened. Well, the first man we read about in chapter 18 is bold and triumphant. You see, a giant of faith in God, absolute giant. I don't know anybody that's had this kind of a dramatic miracle in their life. Calling fire from heaven in a few words, absolutely a few words, and the prophets of Baal are no more. Now, Jezebel, by the way, is supporting them. They come to the palace on a daily basis to eat at the dining hall, and she pays them. They're on staff. They're on salary. The wife of the king of Israel is taking public funds of the kingdom to pay 400 prophets of Baal. That's their living. And she's dedicated to them and they're dedicated to her. That's an outrage. The other man that we read about in chapter 19 is frightened. He's defeated, he's lonely, and he is on the run for his life. He is threatened, has been threatened with a death contract from the queen, who is fully capable and motivated to kill this man who has messed up her Baal worship nonsense. Of course, Baal is involved with storms and fertility. So many of the ancient false gods somehow connect to fertility, and you know some of the complications that occur. Not only is this the same man that is described in chapters 18 and 19, but this is the same man on the same day. This great victory in the morning, and then by evening, he's on the run, completely alone, completely defeated. Look at these conditions, and I ask you to just reach out to Elijah for just a moment with some understanding and empathy. He's spiritually drained. Can you imagine? After this kind of a confrontation, you can project how he might feel. He's mentally tired. He's worked over these guys. He's had a full day of, well, he's now physically exhausted. I can't imagine what kind of a strength and endurance it takes to butcher 400 prophets. That's a lot of cutting of meat, frankly put. And if you know a butcher in any regard at all, he's got some arms on him, because that's heavy work. I don't want to be any more gory for you, but exhaustion sure sets the stage for loneliness and even discouragement and depression to enter even our lives. So, Mark, I don't believe that Christians can be depressed. Well, I would like to believe that with you, but I just know different. And here is a prime example. Elijah made rash statements in prayer. Now, do you think he's praying in faith? I think he is. He thinks he is. He's asking for things, trusting God to answer as he made the statements. He's trying to get something from God. He's making sincere requests. He even asked God for an early death. Well, the enemy's going to catch and kill me. I'd just rather have God take me peaceably. I understand that, do you? Now, I don't understand where he went. I don't agree with that. But, given the choice of whether you get caught by Jezebel's men and tortured to death, or God takes you peaceably in his sleep, I can see which one you and I would prefer. God responds to Elijah's prayer, but he doesn't answer it the way it was asked. He doesn't give him what he asked for. God is kind. God is gracious. God is listening. God is attentive. But just because the great prophet asked for it doesn't mean he's going to get it. You think he was sincere in the request to die early? I believe he was. But think of this compassion. God doesn't even rebuke Elijah. He doesn't even say, no. You shouldn't be doing that. This is going to be written down. They're going to read about this for thousands of years, and you're going to be a bad example. And we just can't have that. This is a bad item in your resume and your reputation. God doesn't even chide him or rebuke him whatsoever. Instead, God, in his great wisdom, grace, and faithfulness, gives Elijah what Elijah really needs. He didn't give him what he asked for. He didn't even say no. He just didn't do it. The demonstration of no is more powerful. God demonstrated his loving care for this man and his infinite insight, and simply gave him 4 specific identifiable things. First, he gives him food. Did you know that as long as we are in this body, we're going to need some nourishment? Now, you may get into a fast. You may go without food or drink for 7 days. You might get into one of those 40-day things. Don't let it go to your head. At some point, you're going to have to eat some food. You're going to have to. And God sees the need here. He needs to recover and return to a place where he can think. He's not thinking well. He's not processing and what's going on. He's not understanding. He wants to die. Well, that's not in God's plan. Elijah's not going to die, either by the hand of Jezebel or by his own request. You need to function properly. Now, I eat some things that aren't really that good for me, but you're going to need some kind of nourishment. So I'm not trying to justify bad choices of diet, but you've got to have something to eat. And that's what God provides first through the angel, and it's amazing what God does. The second thing he gives him is rest. Rest is critically important for every one of you that's in any level of ministry. If you don't rest, you will not be at your best. You will not be razor sharp like you need to be. If you're preaching Sunday morning at your church at 10 o'clock and you stay up all night reading, studying, and praying, you're going to be worn out by 10 o'clock. And you need to be at your razor sharp best. And you need to sleep without feeling guilt. Well, but I'm resting, I'm just doing nothing. No, you're resting and you're preparing to be good when God calls upon your ministry to function. God knows that. And, you don't have to take my word for it. Take a look at what God did for Elijah. He gives him rest, some more food, and some more rest. And it was pretty amazing. He lasted 40 days with the meal that God gave him. Don't you wish you could do that and get more done? Run every 40 days on one meal? Well, God did it here. The third thing he gives is encouragement. Not condemnation, not a spanking, not even a word of discouragement. He gives him encouragement, and he says, there are more serving God than just you. Now, you know the number. God quotes him that there are 7,000 people that have not bowed their knee to Baal that you don't know about. See, that's what Elijah should have conditioned his braggadocious statement of saying, oh, I'm the only one that's left, if he'd have just said, that I know of. Then we would have seen some humility, some accountability for the situation that I know of. When you and I say, man, there's just nobody serving God at all. Oh, watch out. You don't know everybody. Or maybe on the positive side, this pastor right here is the best preacher in town. Oh, well, have you heard them all? No. Well, then you can't say that, can you? He may be the best that you've ever heard. Let's condition it so that you're not coming across as a know-it-all. How you feel. And you see that Elijah's feelings are all over the map. But how we feel is often not confirmed by reality. Feelings will tell you that things are better than they are. Make you feel all comfortable and good. Feelings will also tell you that they're worse than they really are and try to make you discouraged and depressed. And often, neither one is true.
Right.
It isn't as bad as you feel, and it isn't as good as you feel. And so I like to turn the math around just a little bit. God says there's 7,000 more. So I did the comparison. Elijah thinks there's one. God knows there's 7,000. And so instead of just saying there's 7,000 more than you know about, I do the multiplication. There's 7,000 more believers times what Elijah thinks there are. He thinks there's one. There's 7,000 times more than he thinks, more than he feels. I like that number better than 7,000 more. It's 7,000 times. There's a lot of believers. Well, I sure don't know them. Well, that's okay. And that, begins to condition your statements. God gives no rebuke to Elijah. I think I might have. I might have given him a little lesson right there. Just the statement of truth. It's God's purpose here for Elijah to recover and to get back to his busy ministry. Busy and productive. He wants to put him back in the production department. He doesn't want him to tail off, fall off, quit, be discouraged, and lose his reputation and look bad on God. He wants him to go back into ministry functions. And so he gives him assignments for ministry. That's the fourth thing he provides. This is something productive and important for Elijah to do. It's not busy work. I don't know if you like busy work or not, but you probably remember sometime in school when the lesson ended before the time period did, and the teacher gave you some work just to keep you busy. So you wouldn't be, scrapping with the other students, pulling a girl's hair, making trouble over in your corner. She gave you something to do, but if you were watching what was going on, you knew it was busy work. It wasn't productive. God doesn't assign busy work just to keep you active, just to make you feel better about yourself, or maybe to fill up your schedule and keep all your staff busy. There's real work that God assigns. And so God tells him, I need you to go. I need you to appoint and anoint 2 kings and a prophet. Now that's some work. There's some walking involved, and then there's the meeting, and then there's the ceremony. And so Elijah is supposed to anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. He said, well, I thought he was the prophet of Israel. Shouldn't he stay in his lane? Not when God says. He's going to anoint a king over Syria. And then he's going to come back to Jerusalem, and he's going to anoint Jehu to be the new king of Israel, because Jezebel and her lame husband are gone. We're going to move them out. Jehu's going to be the new king. And then, think about this. Think of how you would feel if God gave you an appointment to find and anoint your own replacement. There's no, there's no takeover here. There's no competition. There's nobody moving in on Elijah's territory. Elijah, you are the one that needs to go find Elisha, anoint him, commission him, and then mentor him. Mentor him. Think of that, because he's going to replace you. There's been some work done to analyze the miracles that were in the life of Elijah. And I believe, if my memory is good, there's 17 specific miracles in different categories, different types of miracles, whether healing at a distance, healing in person, raising the dead, all kinds of different things that happened during the ministry of Elijah. You might have heard the double blessing, the double anointing associated with Elisha. I mean, if you were, think about following Elijah, would that be a little bit discouraging? At the very, Elijah has been great. 17 different kinds of miracles. God has shown himself strong and sovereign in the ministry of Elijah, and I've got to follow him. I've got to walk in his footsteps and in the shadow of his reputation. But here's what God did. If you'll count, and it takes some work to do this, if you'll count the miracles that happened in the life of Elisha, it's all 17 categories, and God did 16 of them 2 times in Elisha's ministry, and the 17th once. And then he died. And then Do you remember the story? The army soldier was stabbed or killed some way, and he fell into the grave of Elisha, where Elisha's bones were, came in contact with the prophet of God's remains, and jumped back out of the grave alive, which made the 18th one 2 times. So that was fulfilled and completed even after Elisha died. He's finishing up 17 miraculous categories, each of them now twice, including the one after he's dead. You don't think God keeps track? He anointed with a double portion the man called Elisha. But it's Elijah's job to find him, replace him, and then mentor him. And I'd say Elisha had a pretty good job done on him. Elijah mentored him pretty well, taught him how to do this thing of listening to God and then being bold and brave enough to just do it. Just do it. There's the scene, of course, as the mantle falls, literally out of the clouds. The prophets at the school in Jerusalem. Jerusalem had a school of the prophets. Read it closely and you'll see it. And they all came out and mocked. Where is the Lord God of Elijah? Here comes the cape. And Elisha takes the cape and strikes the water, and it parts, and he walks across. Because the guys over at the educated school shut their mouth. And they all wish they had the opportunity to be tutored by Elijah, to receive the double portion, to receive the mantle of Elijah as he was taken in the chariot. Well, what can I do when I feel lonely? If it comes to your door, comes to your life, I want to identify with King David. King David of old certainly knew and experienced the full range of human feelings and human emotions in his lifetime, but loneliness came to him as well. Think of the range of emotions in this man's life. He knows how to be a shepherd. He knows how to kill a bear with his hands. He knows how to kill a lion when necessary to protect the sheep. At a young age, he's anointed by the prophet Samuel to be the next king that will replace Saul, whose heart has gone far from God. Think of David and the range of life being pursued by Saul. Saul tried to kill him. He didn't want to be replaced. And then he becomes king, and he still has the heart after God. The things that he made mistakes in, the personal decisions in his life, man, what a range of emotions and experiences. But loneliness came to him also. But David knew what to do. Maybe it had happened before. You suppose when he was a young shepherd boy way out, taking care of Dad's sheep in the outback, that he ever got lonely? He was certainly alone, that's for sure. He knew what to do when loneliness came to visit. Pray. And it's important that he, maybe more important, King David knew how to pray. Not that he'd been to school, not that he'd read the book, not that he'd seen the podcast. He knew how to pray because he'd done it before. And he knew what to pray. He knew exactly what to pray. The wisdom this man has is amazing. He knew what to pray. He's not going to whine. He's not going to complain. He's not going to declare and decree. He's going to pray. I want to read you one of his prayers from Psalm 27. Do not hide your face far from me. Put not your servant away in anger. You have been my help. Do not leave me, nor forsake me, O God of my salvation, when my father and my mother forsake me. Now, that's pretty bad. Then the Lord will take me up. Teach me your way, O Lord, and lead me in a plain path because of my enemies. Do not deliver me to the will of my enemies, for false witnesses have risen up against me and breathe out cruelty. If I had fainted, no, I had fainted, unless I had believed to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait on the Lord. Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. The condition of King David in his emotion. In verse 9, we see the condition of his emotions and an expression of how he's feeling. He's expressing his feeling. He's being honest before God, and as he wrote it down, do not hide your face from me. Do not push me away from you. Do not abandon me here. Do not forsake me at this time and place. He's pretty low when he makes those kind of statements. But in verse 11, David knows what to ask for in this prayer. This is amazing. This is maturity and wisdom that I think will impress you. He says, teach me and lead me. That's what I need. He didn't pray, make us quit hurting. He didn't pray, do something to those mean people. They're giving me trouble. He didn't say, here's the list of what I need. Here's what you should do, God. He appeals. He says, teach me and lead me. I think this is perfect. This couldn't be any better. You see, first he says, I recognize that I need to learn something from this. Does it hurt? Is it painful? Yeah. But I need to learn something out of this. This is the productive part. He sees with, I'll say, the vision of God upon his own situation. I need to learn something here, and I cannot see what is going to happen tomorrow, so I need God's help to guide me, to steer me in decision making. I need to make some decisions to get out of this place, but I don't know what to do because I don't see tomorrow. I barely can see today. Teach me something and then lead me out of this, because who's going to help you get out of this? Oprah's not. Probably your pastor is not. The Lord's going to have to help you. And you know what? He will. He's available. And he's motivated to do just what David said. Why are you discouraged? Well, we're going to have to charge you $150 an hour to analyze that. Lay down here on this couch and we will try to figure it out. And we can't figure it out in one hour once a week. You're going to have to come back next week. You know what God's fee is? Just obey what I tell you. Do what I show you to do. It's not going to cost you $150 an hour. And so in verses 13 and 14, here's the instructions and encouragement. First, David is counseling himself. This is mature. This is wisdom. This is leadership from God. First, see the goodness of God in this life today. Count your many blessings. Name them one by one. Let me tell you, when you complete that little task, I know we sing it, or we used to, you complete that little task, you're going to use up all the paper in the house. Now, this is going to be a list that goes on and on and on. See the goodness of God today. Not what you hope for, not what you're praying for, what already exists. Look around you. Reflect back on what God has done in you, and then intentionally, with purpose, give praise and thanksgiving unto God from your heart. Not because somebody is watching, not because somebody directed it, because somebody told you to do that. You do it. Initiate that from your own heart to thank God for this list of things. We don't sing the song that, well, Janet Jackson used to sing. What have you done for me lately? What an ungrateful heart. What have you done for me lately? You mean since noon? Well, nothing. But he's done so much. Make your list. I challenge you. And then David says, wait on the Lord. This is trusting God. Well, I am trusting God with patience. Trusting God combined with patience. Fruit wrapped, it might be called. Trusting with patience. Oh, but I don't have time for patience. Well, there's the problem. There's the problem. The third thing he mentioned, be of good courage. That's what God told Joshua in chapter 1. Be of good courage. Adjust your attitude knowing that God will give you some of the strength you need. Oh, I'm checking to see if you're listening again. He'll give you all the strength you need. All of it. You have to be willing to accept it, and then you have to get out of your chair and exert the strength that God gives you to accomplish what he has directed you to do. And then, this is not being redundant at all, David says, wait on the Lord. So, Mark, I thought that was number 2. He says, wait some more. Wait again. Continue to be patient while trusting that God is actively working in the background to make every detail of the perfect solution to your challenge. We take a break. We have lunch break. We have dinner break. We have a sleep break. Sometimes when you get old enough, like me, you have to take a nap break. I need a nap in the afternoon. Did you know that God doesn't take a nap? God never takes a break. He works while we're sleeping. He works all the time. And he never, ever stops. He never tires. He never gets discouraged. He never postpones it till tomorrow. In the background, he's saying, do it now. Get it done. I know the Lord will make a way for me. That's a song. Some of you old timers may have sung that in church. I know the Lord will make a way for me. He's good. He's really good. It may not be your way, but it will be the right way. It may not come with the frills, the extras, the options, the bells and whistles, I'll call them, all the extra equipment that you want, all the comforts, but he'll make a way. It might be right through a mountain of stone. It might be right through the Red Sea. It might be right through a desert. Oh, that's uncomfortable. But it's a way that God has made. And he has made that way for you to follow. In Hebrews chapter 13, there are 6 powerful verses as the writer has given us a presentation of the superiority of Jesus Christ in 25 different ways. He is better, and we won't go into that today. But in chapter 13, we see that loneliness can be defeated. Absolutely defeated. It doesn't mean it'll be once and for all, because it may come back. But this will give you, I'll call it the weaponry, the tools to take loneliness out of your life and tell it to go on down the road. Go bother somebody else, but not me anymore. The chosen lifestyle that we have and the daily attitudes that we fashion either will be an invitation for loneliness to come, as well as, loneliness brings with it a bunch of other bad things that we don't want in our lives. Loneliness has a bunch of bad companions, and we don't want any of them. Or you can set the stage to defeat these influences and the things that loneliness will bring that have no right to a permanent residence in a Christian's life. They have no right or no dominion to be in your life without your permission. And you deny that permission and they have to leave. In verse 1, love the family of God is where this writer begins. The love is there in your heart. If you're a born-again believer, filled with the Spirit of God, love exists in your heart, but I'm telling you, it needs to be expressed. You got to let it out. You can't be the guy that's, you got the love of Jesus so deep in your heart that nobody can ever see it. Nobody can ever tell. Well, we've got it way down deep in our heart. Well, I'm glad you do, but you need to let it out and be expressed and be told in different ways. We find that love needs to be demonstrated, both for their benefit and for yours as well. And I think there's a permanent, inexorable, it's called, condition of a combined mission. John 3:16 says, "For God so loved that he gave." He did something. He didn't just send a card with some sweet words. Trust me, I love you. Hope to see you someday soon. No. For God so loved the world that he gave. And he gave the greatest gift that's ever been given. He gave the world a Savior. And you know the rest of the verse, of course. Verses 2 and 3 deal with practicing hospitality. It says here to be the initiator toward strangers. That's people outside your circle. You have a circle. We all have a circle. Circle of friends, circle of people we prefer to hang around with, some people that we go to dinner with, some people we go to church with, some people might be in our family, but we have a circle. And the people outside that circle we'll just call strangers. The people that are not within the circle, the writer refers to prisoners and others that are suffering and experience circumstances that are adverse, circumstances that are painful, circumstances that are not your primary choice. They're difficult. Please, please do not suggest a new church outreach or a program of how other people should be visiting those in need. You go visit somebody. If you feel the need for an outreach, do it. Well, do I have to get the bishop's permission? Oh dear. That may take a long time. Why don't you just go visit somebody in prison? Go visit somebody in the hospital. Go visit somebody in the rest home. They'll let you in. Bring a songbook. They love to hear piano music. If you start playing the piano that's in the rec room, you will have a crowd come out of those rooms. They like those old songs. And if you can sing any way at all, you'll minister to people. It's amazing. In verses 4 and 5, make a decision to be content. You have the capability. You just need the motivation. Make a decision to be content. You see, I heard this the other day. There are those that talk about having the right to remain silent. Well, others just don't have that ability. They may have the right, but they don't have the ability to remain silent. They ought to just be quiet. Go ahead. It is your choice and no one else's choice. Don't give that choice to the salesman on television or in the magazines, the admin, and to the product promoters of Madison Avenue. That's who it is in New York City that write all the commercials that try to convince you that you need to buy more stuff, that you have last year's model. You've got one that's, if they're selling music stereo equipment, yours is too big and you need one that's smaller. You need a little one. And if you got a salesman that's selling you a boat and you already have a boat, you need a bigger one. You need a bigger boat and a smaller. Don't give them the power to decide whether you need more stuff or not. Look back to your list of what God has done for you already. And I want to add this decision in your life to your experience and treat it as a valuable asset. Jesus promised, I will never leave you. I will never leave you. I will never, ever leave you. That's a wonderful thing to put in your toolkit and just say, I'm going to protect this. I'm going to remember this. If everything else gets taken away from me, if everything else is outmoded, outdated, breaks and falls apart, I got this one left. Jesus said, I'll never leave you. That is a valuable, valuable promise. This application and practice in a real practical way will shift your attention away from yourself, your own perceived needs, and you'll begin to think about the needs of others. You remember singing the little song, maybe when you were a child in Vacation Bible School, spelling joy? Jesus first, others second, and yourself last. J-O-Y. Jesus first, others next, and yourself last. Don't forget yourself. You need to count on yourself, but not first. Not first. The opportunity will be given you for what I'll call, and I want this to penetrate, authentic ministry at a new level of dimension of the love of Jesus Christ that is within you. It's not that you have so much empathy and compassion, is that God has that compassion, and He's demonstrating that to another person through you, His obedient servant, an extension of His hand extended. As a pastor, I've been told this line by people who are in the process of justifying to quit the church. My needs are not being met. And one of my responses is, you need to reduce your needs. The church as a whole is not going to be motivated, commissioned, and focused on meeting all of your perceived needs. We didn't build this church to make you happy. And this church will be here after you're gone. Why should we marshal all the ministries of the church just so you feel better? Maybe you should get involved in helping meet the needs of other people and getting the focus off yourself. Well, usually this comes from people who don't attend the planned meetings. They don't come regularly. They don't participate when they do come. Some of them have a habit to come late, and I think of some people in the whole family that complain to me. They would always come late. They'd always sit on the back row. Those seats are expensive back there, I'll tell you. The cheap ones are up front. You need to come on the front and sit up here where the action is. they would check their watch every few minutes, and then they would leave early and avoid all kinds of fellowship contact with any of the people. One family, the one I'm remembering, had come from a big church in the South, as this was a missionary church in Alaska, in the far north. And they said, well, we're just not really satisfied here. I said, oh, could you be more specific? I said, well, we came out of a church that has a 90-member orchestra and a 100-voice choir. And when we come here, we feel blessed to have somebody that can play the piano and somebody else that can lead the songs. And they're disappointed. Why? Because first, they're seeking entertainment. And secondly, they're not intentionally involved in anything. They are an involved consumer. You have to entertain. You have to provide. You have to... Well, they saw the light and went somewhere else. And you know what our loss was? 0. We didn't lose a thing by that family going somewhere else, looking for a 90-piece orchestra and a 100-voice choir. Oh my goodness. You know, it'd been wonderful to have 190 people just come to church. Just come to church. It is a choice and a concept to take. In verse 6 of Hebrews chapter 13, here is the verse that is a conclusion for this matter, for this group of verses and this chosen attitude that will benefit every one of us. He uses the word so. He's concluding. He's gathering it up together, these things that I've mentioned that we need to do. And he says, so we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper. How do you get things done, Mark? The Lord is my helper. How do you do it at a quality that's high? The Lord's my helper. How do you stay physically able to do this? The Lord is my helper. You see, you don't need to take credit for yourself. Go ahead and share the credit for what God is doing in your life, because He is helping you in every category of your life without any being left out. In every dimension of your life, God is helping you daily. Daily. And the next phrase, and it says, I will not fear what man may do to me. Do not be controlled by what you think other people think, or what you think and feel other people might say in gossip circles, or what you think they might do. Oh, they could cancel my membership. Wonderful. Would be one of the best days you've ever had for some old dead church to cancel your membership. Hallelujah. I will not fear. Why? Because God is my helper. Not because I'm type A personality, not because I'm an aggressive male, because God is my helper. And as a result, think of this. You know, there are some places in the inner city, think of New York, Chicago, Detroit, and Houston. You really shouldn't go in those areas by yourself at night. Just not good, it's not wise judgment to go in those areas. But if you did, if you were directed to do so, you got a great big brother that's holding your hand. And if he is directed to go in there, you'll be just fine. Just fine. So what if they kill me? you'll be even better. Your decision will have been sealed. And it's over. And you get your promotion. Oh my goodness. The next hour we're going to talk about some death and some things. I hope you'll tune in to the other session that we're going to record tonight. And I hope that you will drive loneliness far from your doorstep using the Scripture and using God as your helper. God bless you tonight. Thank you for watching.
This program has been produced by Lives Devoted to Ministries, home of training trainers to lead. We hope you enjoyed this program. For more information on how to contact us and to view other teachings, you can visit ldtms.org. We are a faith-based ministry and welcome your support so you too can be a part of training trainers to lead.